Good morning, everyone. We'll get started here in just a sec as I get myself together.
I posted a little welcome in the chat, Ricardo. So, folks, if you see the welcome announcement, if you'll just give us a thumbs up, let us know you're there. We'll get started in just a moment.
And that voice you hear is my friend Stacy. She's in the background helping with this live event. Thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right. All righty. So we are back again today. For those that may be joining for the first time, this is a weekly session every Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, and early to intention is office hours where you can come and just ask your questions, and I will make my best attempt. Stacy and I actually will make our best attempt to answer them live here for you, demo them, all that good stuff. And then if we run out of questions, then we always try to find something to geek out on as well. So this is a weekly chance to just geek out on teams, essentially. So glad you're here today. The one question right now that I do have is a live event question. For those maybe unaware, so you certainly have regular team meetings, can fit I think 350 people with all the bells and whistles. And then you have live events, scaled meetings up to 20,000 people right now, but more of a one-to-many. So your attendees can't, there's no coming off mute for those attendees. They are listening to your presentation through, through the web, and and really it's what you're experiencing right now, right? They're interacting with Q&A chat. So you're experiencing a live event right now. 20,000 of you can fit into this versus a typical meeting. And but the question is, what you guys out there may not even be aware of is behind the scenes. What does that look like? And so, what is the producer experience, and what does it look like to monitor Q&A chat? Was essentially the question. And just as a little point of reference here. Again, the live events come in a bunch of different flavors. The one that usually your typical Teams user is aware of is that self-produced one. I kind of call it the easy button live event. So that is setting it up in a couple minutes, and you're off and running. Just kind of like that picture shows, you could be just one person in front of your laptop broadcasting to thousands of people with just a few clicks. It can certainly get more complicated, multiple cameras, multiple inputs, even integration of dial-in bridges. If you've got some, conference bridge that can, that 2,000 people can call into, there's the technologies there to integrate that in. But the easy button approach, as I would call it, is thousands of viewer only type of thing. So with that said, I did create one here in my demo environment. So, you can create those by hitting a little drop down and doing a live event. So I've got one here, and as you can see, I'm going to join it. I'm not using the attendee link. I am a producer of it, so I'm going to join it here with the join button. And I will jump into it as a producer. So again, if you've never seen this before, and these messages are because my demo environment doesn't have cameras and whatnot. But if you've never seen it before, this is the UI for the producer. Essentially that producer, unlike the presenters who are basically just there to come on camera to say what they need to say, to show their PowerPoints or whatever content they want to share, the producer's deciding of that content what's going to get queued up, what's going to be sent over for the attendees to see, and things like that. So that's why you have these two windows here. You can see two attendees actually in this one. I and Stacy have joined this, separately, just for demonstration purposes. And I'm going to go ahead and share some content here, so that we can kind of get this going. I'll actually share this guy. Go back into it, and then we'll add the content here. So it's queued up. Now I'm going to send it live. Boom. So now it's ready to be viewed. And I haven't started it yet, but it's ready to be viewed by all the attendees. So now I'm going to start this up. Okay. So it's live now, and now but the other part of being a producer, and really just being even a producer or a presenter in a live event, is the Q&A. So you can see here, I used that button, the little question mark bubbles, to open that Q&A. That is different than the events meeting chat, which is the other bubble. So that would be where the producer and the presenters could chat while the event is going on. And in fact, I mean, once you're live, it's just like TV. I mean, like your mics are hot, the cameras are on. So there's no chit chat among the presenters and producers unless that's part of your event, is the chit chat. But once you're live, really the only coordination or chit chat that the folks can have would be through this chat. So it is important to understand the distinctions. That's typical meeting chat, just like a normal Teams meeting. The thousands of attendees can't see anything going on here. But this one is the Q&A chat. This is what the attendees are using to interact, and we can see that as well. So what we're seeing here is that we do have a chat coming in. Stacy has put a chat there, but let's look at these tabs. New are the ones that are coming in. Excuse me, coming in. That's different from the ones that we as the moderators have published. Published means all the thousands of people can see that post. So right now, none of the thousands of attendees, or two attendees in this case, can see Stacy's post, just Stacy. She would have hers in a tab on her view called My Questions, but nobody can see it because we haven't published anything. And then dismissed is important, especially if this thing gets busy during an event, because as these pile up, and especially as you've answered them, or there's no more action needed, dismissing them will clean this area up. And you want to do that because you don't want a bunch of questions in here kind of piling up, and now you don't know what the new ones versus the old ones are. So 3 tabs to kind of be aware of. And so in this case, Stacy has sent a message. In this case, it's testing, but it could have been a question or a comment or anything. And so now you actually got 2 options here. One is to reply privately. So I could answer Stacy's question, and she would get the message, in her My Questions area. But again, the thousands of people, other attendees, have no idea that any of this has happened. It's kind of a private conversation. However, if I publish her question first, you can see now she's in the published tab. All the thousands of people can see that question, and they can also see the answer. So they're going to see both the question and the answer. All the attendees will see that. They could, hit the like on it, all that good stuff. Okay, so that's key. The publish versus new. And so you see another new one has come in, where Stacy's pointing out this is a statement that can be dismissed because it is not relevant to be published or perhaps inappropriate. And that's a good point. You don't know who your audience is, depending on how broadly you have published your live event link. So somebody could come in with something inappropriate, and if so, that no one needs to see that, doesn't need to go to published. We'll go ahead and just dismiss this one. We won't reply. Maybe we would reply and say, hey, calm down there, buddy, or something.
Yeah, knock it off.
Right. But we certainly don't want to publish it, so we'll go ahead and dismiss it. And so now it's in the dismiss column with a restore button. but it's in the dismiss column. And now our new area is nice and clean. We know there are no new questions to be addressed, and we have our published one out there as well. And even this published one, I believe that could that's a conversation that could continue. I think Stacy could reply to my reply, and I could reply, so there could be some ongoing dialogue there. But again, it would be viewable to everyone out there. And so, in theory, the thought is I published it because it's a good question. It's one we want the rest of the attendees to, see for their own, edification, and so that's why we would publish it. I want to say that I think the best approach, if you do want it and your reply to be seen by all, is to publish it before you reply. I'm trying to remember if I reply first, then try to publish it. I think my reply will be private. Stacey, do you remember it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's.
If you reply before, then only that person who submitted the comment is going to see it.
Right.
And then if you publish after that, then you have to also give your answer again. Yep. So it is definitely the best practice, like you said, to publish first, then answer if it's a relevant input from the audience.
Yeah, and that makes sense because you've replied in private. Teams is not going to assume just because you publish it, you're trying to publish your private. Yeah, so that makes sense to me. Yeah, the private reply should stay private, so that's good. So as you're doing these Q&As, you may have a mix of private replies, especially if it's, you may have the same question happening often or something like that. You may have a lot of private replies, and then you may have some published ones as well. Now, all that being said, that little bit that we just discussed there, we certainly have just had a couple of posts in this Q&A, but depending on your live event, this could become a very busy area. I've seen live events with even just like 100 people, but if those folks are very active, 100 people can fill this up quickly. And so while Stacy and I kind of are, insane enough to be a 2-person production team on this live event, that could fill up with questions that, we might have trouble controlling. I do recommend on a live event that it's going to be could potentially be big, that someone is in your live event just for the purpose of monitoring Q&A, that they have they don't have to multitask or have other duties other than just focusing on Q&A. So again, a significant or a large event, you've got presenters in there that are focused on just being ready to present their content. You got producers who are hopefully just focused on queuing up the shares and what's showing, and are not necessarily looking at Q&A. And then you've got somebody dedicated to Q&A. That will make things go smoother, because while you certainly, here as a producer, I certainly have access to everything and could be a 1-person show. The bigger it gets, the harder that becomes. And again, you may not have seen it yourself, but this tab can fill up quickly. For instance, I made the mistake once. Well, it wasn't really a mistake, but I did one of those sound check kind of questions, and in a session that I think had several hundred people in it. Hey, can anyone hear me? Let me know in the Q&A. And of course they did. Yep, hear you. Well, now I've got 30 of these messages in my new column that really need to be dismissed, and there's no dismiss all button that I'm aware of. So I had to do some quick dismissals, and I probably didn't even get them all, but I kind of had a full Q&A new tab at that point, so I kind of felt like that was a little blunder there. Should have had a better way of asking for that feedback. I think I know we'll get reactions in our live events at some point. That would have been a better way to just have a bunch of those thumbs up icons floating on the screen. That would have helped a lot better. So a little pro tip, just based on my little error there. Don't necessarily ask a super simple question in a big event, because you will get the answers, and then you have to deal with that. So,
Ricardo, do you mind if I plug our customer success training program real quick?
Yeah.
Since they do so many live events for us, and do some amazing virtual training. If anybody in the audience has a need for some Office 365 app training, and that includes Teams, Ricardo or I can connect you with our Microsoft Store trainers. And what made me think of this, Ricardo, is they do this all the time. And when they are doing their hour-long trainings via live events or Teams meetings, they're doing more Teams meetings these days, but they really do come with a team. And it's not necessarily required, like Ricardo said. He and I are holding down the fort today just fine, just the two of us. But if you have an event that you want to coordinate and deliver, where you plan on involving the audience and getting them to send in questions, and perhaps it's the first live event they've attended, it's definitely a good idea to give somebody the moderator hat. Make sure that they are in the event and answering questions. That has certainly been a focus of the customer success training team, because when they are using this platform to bring new topics to folks and really demonstrate click after click after click through Teams or OneDrive or SharePoint, that definitely brings some training or some questions, and people type them in, and fast and furiously their team can answer those, point them to documentation, and you can see the value there. So I'll quit hammering on it, but thank you for bringing up that customer success training catalog. It really indicates that they are doing this across the breadth of Microsoft 365. And I know that a lot of my customers have taken advantage of it, and it's been hugely successful in getting the end users more comfortable with the tools that you guys are delivering all day, every day.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've had good success with them in my accounts as well. So reach out to your CSM if it happens to be me or Stacy, if you want more information on that. I'm seeing some questions. So can there be multiple co-hosts and producers, and can they I think all respond to questions is what they're asking. And absolutely there can be, and absolutely there should be, whenever possible. Case in point, for two producers, for instance, I give the example, what happens if a squirrel, chews through my internet, connection on the day of the event, right? If I lose my connection, the live event doesn't end, but it's nice to know there's another producer who, with full capabilities to, produce, that is still there. So, while losing a full-blown connection is hopefully far and few between, can happen, and depending on how big or high profile your live event is, you want one or two or three maybe producers, people that can jump in and help out. And I've seen that happen before. So multiple producers, yes, you can and should. And yes, they can respond to questions. Really, so this live event here, I'm in as a producer. That was my answer to that question. So yes, they can, and they can do that.
Yeah, really, the entire production team, right? So anyone on this side of on your side of a live event has access to see that live event Q&A. When Ricardo and I refer to, making sure someone has the moderator cap, it's not necessarily a role you're assigning in the Teams live event. It's not something that has to be configured ahead of time, but it's definitely something you'd want to agree to know who's going to take the point on addressing the live Q&A.
And as we are answering these things, let me do one more plug here. Let's see, let's come here, and I think it should work. So Webinar Wednesdays, as we're talking here about live events, we have certainly over time have put a lot of stuff out to help people with doing live events. And the latest here is one, I think, starting next week, Webinar Wednesdays, hosted by some SMEs for us internally, Nick Stillings and And Nash Fearson, who's a peer to Stacy and I, is on our SLG team, or state and local government team. So those will be starting up this form. Let me see the best way. I'll put this in the chat, but that'll take you to this form where you can put your email address in to be given the link to it. But I thought I'd put that plug in, and let me put that into the Q&A chat as well. Webinar Wednesdays, boom, and we'll put it there. All right, so you should be seeing that in your Q&A chat if you want to be able to access this form there. Okay. Just looking at the other questions. Okay, yep. Oh, and then yeah, this question about can we see who the participants are? And yes, you just get the count there. I will say though, if your attendees, so a live event can be set up as a public event where anyone on the planet with the link to the live event and internet access can view it, and they can join anonymously. But if they choose to sign in, or if your live event requires sign in, let's say maybe you just want people in your organization to attend it, then they are coming in with a name. And so while you don't know who they are just initially, once they interact with Q&A, their name will be on it, just like it is here for Stacy, Stacy, I'm guessing you came in and volunteered your name to this as opposed to maybe
I
signing
did.
in. Yeah.
Yep. It prompted me before I posted the question. It made me give my name or type something in.
Right. So yeah, so you could come in completely anonymously. You could come in and basically voluntarily offer your name, or I should say a name. But then if you did come in as signed in, so all that being said, that would be your as a producer, your only insight into who's there is named individuals who interact with the Q&A chat. But as Stacy pointed out in the response to that Q&A question, your engagement or your attendee report will give you all those details, when they joined, when they left, all that good stuff. Okay. So I'm just looking at the questions there. Yep. So yeah, so lots of those are really good best practices there in terms of things that you might not necessarily think about. I'm going to put one more link if I can find it quickly. There is a nice, oops, no, I don't want to do it there. There is a nice PDF or PowerPoint of Teams Live Event Instructional Guide is what it's called. So I'm getting the link here now, and I'm going to put this in the Q&A chat. Teams Live Event Instructional Guide, full of like full color screenshots of lots of things related to putting on a live event. So when I've shared it with customers, it seems to be very useful. Kind of all of those what do I wish I knew before I started this thing kind of information is in there. So I've got that in the Q&A chat as well. Feel free to check that out. Also, it will kind of go through some of the things we've talked about here. Obviously not live, there's no videos in it, but a lot of screenshots. It should be super helpful.
Ricardo, we have a request to repeat the information about the attendance that you gave a moment ago. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe just the attendee report.
Yeah. In fact, I can probably even show an attendee report. But yes, you don't know who specifically is in the live event. You know the number, but in terms of who it is, if they come in with a name or signed in, you'd get a feel for who they are via Q&A. But otherwise, if I go to an old live event here, of course, no it would be there. Let me see if I got any. Nice. It would be listed here in the live event resources. There would be a download link for the attendee engagement report. And maybe I've got an old one in here, probably in downloads. No, I guess not. So yeah, but it's a spreadsheet that shows who came in and out. And again, if they came in anonymous, it'll still say anonymous in the report. But if they were named, you get that, and that's even if they didn't interact with Q&A.
If you want to end the demo live event that you have, it might generate quick enough that we could show it.
Yeah, I was wondering if there might be anything else that I need to show here. Yeah, if there is, we could fire up another one. But I think we definitely showed the Q&A interaction here: new, published, and dismissed. Yeah. So let's go ahead and end this so we can see the assets. So we will end it. Ending is it's a very final activity, as this thing, calls out here. So go ahead and end that. And then sometime shortly thereafter, we should get some assets. So we can go ahead and leave it. If we come back to the calendar here, I don't know how quickly. There we go, very quickly. So here's our event resources, one of which is attendee engagement report. So I'm going to hit the download there. It's downloaded. Open it up. And there we go. So as we can see here, other than myself, we're not getting any names there, but we are seeing attendees and just session IDs there, and browser activity and that kind of thing. Yep. Along with the engagement or Q&A report, which will basically list every question that got asked in the session, and the answers as well. Okay, so those are part of your assets. And then, of course, the recording. In this one, I must have set it such that I didn't make the recording available to myself. That would normally be a drop down. I've made the recording available to the attendee so that when they come back with the link, they can rewind and watch. And then at any time, I can disable that, as you can see with that button there. So, yeah, so those are some good live event tips there. Not sure if I missed any questions there. Okay. Awesome. So good live event stuff going on. I think there's a link in my YouTube channel where I do a more in-depth demo of live events, but these webinar Wednesdays, I'm sure we'll deep dive into them as well. So you'll have some, I think that's weekly content coming there. Nick Stillings, if you kind of search on him, he's associated with a ton of live event content as well. So if you are trying to become a live event master, there is plenty of content for you to pull from to do that. And if you're one of my customers and need help, let me know, because in addition to me helping you, what I find is my customers like to help each other with that. As they get good at live events, they help their fellow agencies, organizations with live events as well. So I can make connections if needed. All right. So I don't see any other questions. So hopefully we were helpful today. This was a live event Friday, it seems. So so yeah, webinar Wednesdays, and today was a live event Friday. So outside of that, I think we're good. I'll stick around a couple of minutes if there's any lingering questions, but do
you want to mention that we are going to take a break next Friday?
Yes.
But we'll be back at it the following Friday.
Right. And so, yeah, next week, no session due to PTO and whatnot. I will put that on the C.U.T.E for Teens placeholder. So even if you forget, if you click it, it'll be a nice big banner, no session this week, but we will be back at it the following week and thereafter. All right. So you guys and gals, enjoy your Friday, and we'll see you next time.